Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Miss Eclipser, and today we're going to be doing a fun little reading based on my art again. Today we're asking Spirit, what do you need to hear right now? So this is going to be basically a timeless reading. So whenever you come across this video is when you're going to be, you know, receptive to the message that is going to be relayed through this video at this time. Honestly, I'm super excited to get started, and I'm hoping you guys are too, because you know what, this is my thing. I love channeling these messages, especially when I do my little art pieces, because I be feeling a lot of energies flow within me. And of course they're not by chance, but definitely a prompt by spirit saying, hey, your ass needs to get into, sharing these messages with the collective, because there's something for everybody to hear at some point. And you know what, it feels good. It really feels good to be able to contribute. So without further ado, let us begin, shall we? All right, so here we are again. Today we're going to be doing our what do we need to hear right now video, or reading I should say. Again, we're using one of my personal pieces, and like I said, guys, when I was doing this piece, the energy that I was in was very interesting, because it just felt like a bunch of different, feelings at the same time that was, flowing through me as I did this. So before we begin, let me just turn this over. Okay, just turn it over. Yeah, take it all in. And right before we start, let me just sage this right here. Cleanse all that energy, as well as say a little prayer before we begin. Let me just get that in there. Spirit guides, ancient ancestors, I call upon thee, as today I'm going to channel these messages for the collective. Let all the messages that come through today at this point in time be of nothing but pure loving intent. I pray for persons who are listening and watching. I hope that what they receive today is what they needed to hear most. I pray for clarity. I pray for truth. I pray for integrity. I pray for the persons who may be struggling at this time, especially when they may hear triggering messages at this time. I pray that they find peace and love in these messages as I provide them the clarity, the wisdom, and the love that they require at this time. Please help us in our time in need, I pray. Amen. Okay. So what do we need to hear right now, Spirit? What is it that the collective needs to hear at this time? What are the energies? What are the points of improvement that we need to understand about ourselves at this time? Right. What do you need to hear at this time? At this time, I feel like there is quite a few persons at this time who may not be feeling the best in spirits. I feel like some of you are feeling really down in yourselves, like really questioning, how did you get to this place? I feel like at this time you may be by yourself, not necessarily by choice, but some by choice, but others, I feel like you have been in this energy, this space of just like pushing people away at this time because you're not quite sure where to start explaining. I feel like there is a lot coming up for you at this time. At this time, you may be experiencing many flashbacks of not just pieces of your past or younger days, but I'm feeling like times when you felt like you were at the lowest point. I feel like a lot of you had very wild, very wild pasts. I feel like at this time you may be feeling resentful to yourself, towards yourself, because you felt out of control. And even if someone was to talk to you at that time, even if someone was supposed to be able to provide this level of guidance that you're now receiving or now starting to understand in your more mature ages, or the mature point of view, I feel like you also feel like at that point when you were doing a lot of the things that you're not, proud of, you would have been resentful towards that person and just not in an open energy or mindset. I feel like at this time you're starting to understand that there are parts of yourself that you denied when you were younger. There are parts of yourself that you didn't think would have a place in this world. At this time, I feel like you have definitely call yourself out one too many times, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like you're not pure enough, feeling like there is no space for you in this world. At this time, you may be feeling a little bit, nostalgic, wishing that you didn't know as much as you do now, wishing that you probably had less experience with certain things. I feel like a lot of you are feeling battered and tired at this time. I feel like when it comes on to just relating to others, you may have a difficult time because you're not quite sure if they're ready to hear you out, see you from your point of view instead of being as, a judgmental person. I feel like a lot of you have dealt with many persons who, gaslit you. If not gaslit you, they made you feel lower than what you already feel at this time. When I look at this piece, or when I think about my piece, when I was doing it, the energies that I was feeling is like I felt really much like I wanted to cry. I felt super emotional. I felt really angry at a lot of people, and I feel like the people that the anger that was the people that the anger was directed at, they weren't doing something intentional. Like they were just being themselves. They were just acting in themselves. It's not that they were being negligent or inconsiderate of my feelings. They were just going about their days as per usual. They were in their element. They were in their energy, and I just felt resentful because I was so angry at the fact that they couldn't see that I was upset. They couldn't sense, they couldn't pick up that I was feeling some type of way and I needed somebody to talk to me at this time. So I feel like quite a few of you guys may be feeling that sort of energy. You may be feeling like nobody is taking the time out to really see and understand that you're not feeling too well. I feel like at this time, the reason why, a lot of things are coming back to you now, not necessarily to, torment you or haunt you, because I feel like some of you guys really feel that way, but to show you where your trauma really started. I feel like at this time you're starting to understand what they mean by doing shadow work. I feel like at this time you guys are starting to understand what it means to acknowledge and embrace your shadow self. I feel like at this time you may be looking at things like from a different perspective where you never quite saw it at that at first, but now with having grown a bit and having distanced yourself or separated yourself from those instances or those situations, now you're starting to see things from a very enlightened point of view. I feel like at this time you may be seeing for now how certain tendencies in the past, even though they seem destructive at that point, I'm feeling like you're starting to understand that they weren't destructive in themselves. They were just unchanneled. At this time, you need to understand that many things that you did in the past wasn't that they didn't serve a purpose. They have a purpose, but they need to be trained. Just as how you have, raw talents and you need to hone those talents, you need to practice, you need to always do things to groom them in the way that you want them to, produce or to help form them in the shape that you want. You have to be active with them. You have to pay attention to them. And I feel like there are parts of you that you had to separate. When you look at this piece right here, it's an entity. Of course, it has a disturbing appearance. It looks scary at first, but then if you look closer, you see that there are so many colors to this thing. I feel like there are many sides to your shadow self. Many sides in the sense that these things, these shadow aspects, these parts of ourselves that we shun, the parts of ourselves that we reject because we feel like they don't have a chance in this world, they have very unique uses to our life's purpose. I feel like at this time, many of you guys are just starting to realize that, the creative energies that you may have channeled, or I'm feeling issues with femininity. It's funny because the image is a little bit more on the feminine side, hence the eyelashes, the sort of feminine quality that, the delicate features, even though it's, creepy. There's delicate features, the earring, there's a slight feminine presence to it, slight feminine essence. I feel like at this time, you guys may be looking at how feminine you were. If people were still see you feminine, if you were just supposed to start talking about your situations or um things that you have personally been through, I feel like at this time you guys may be feeling a little bit sensitive about if whether or not people still see you as a wholesome woman, or in this case, this is a genderless reading, so it may pertain to your manhood. For the males who may be listening to this, you may have felt emasculated at a point in your life. And that sort of situation or that collection of situations have you questioning whether or not you were supposed to share it, if you'd still be received as as you intend to be received as, or something that you want to be seen as. Will you still be seen as a male, is what I'm trying to say. For females, would you still be seen as a woman, and not just, you know, any type of woman, but a woman who has her morals, a woman who has her ethics, a woman who has her belief system, who has her boundaries, who has things that she values in herself. It doesn't matter what you identify as or with, it's what's important to you that really is in question. If whether or not people still see you see you parallel to the values that you hold dearly to you, will they have a disassociation, is what you're worried about. I feel like with the many eyes right now, it's not just with people looking at you or just observing what may be off behavior for you, because I don't feel like you're feeling much of yourself right now. I don't feel like you're feeling like you can be yourself right now. It's also, I feel like you guys are doing a lot of introspection at this time, just looking at yourself, like looking at all parts of yourself, like why did you think originally that this was not beautiful? You're trying to trace back, like for some of you it may be your parents. You may be looking at aspects of yourself. Some people may have heritism that came to mind, for females that's like excess growth in certain areas like the face, the neck, the chin, the neck, the chest area, and of course it can appear other places in the body, but traditionally it's just like areas that normally females don't have noticeable hair in. Hair is there, like vellus hair, vellus hair, which is just like peach fuzz, fine peach fuzz hair that's present on the skin for everybody. But for you, I feel like some of you guys are questioning if whether or not you still be viewed as a woman. I feel like that was an issue for a lot of persons, questioning if whether or not they could still be viewed as a woman or seen as a beautiful person, right? For males, it may be that you may lack the hair that should be present there, that some people feel like makes a man a man. If it's not hair, I feel like maybe some of you maybe have receding hairlines or you're balding. I just feel like something with your hair is an issue for some people. If it's not the issue of hair, I feel like something with your skin. For some of you, you may be experiencing breakouts in the forehead region, likewise your cheeks. I feel like this has to do with your solar plexus. If you notice on this side of my drawing, there's a transition from red, orange to yellow, right, to green, blue, purple. So I'm feeling like from the bottom or the lower half of your body, the lower chakras coming upwards, there's a disturbance. I feel like a lot of you are just starting to recognize how much your root chakra was messed up as a child. You guys have not felt stability in a very long time, and it's worsened since you got older, because it's like you're struggling to find your identity. For some of you, I feel like you have found a community to identify with, or I feel like you have found, some you thought you found an identity within a community. For some of you, that may have been joining a spiritual group. For some others, it may be a scholarly group or academic group. I just feel like you thought you found a niche that you could fit in, because before you had a hard time finding where you fit in. You thought that you didn't have a place before. So when you found that space, it was just like intoxicating, because it felt like it was a sense of euphoria that you never had before. It was a sense of belonging somewhere before, and you've never had that. And so, because of that, for a time, it felt good. It felt like there was structure, there was something stable. But then over time, you realize that there was a sort of regime that existed that you could not mesh with. It didn't speak to your soul. It did not connect with you in the level that you wanted to connect. And before you know it, you're finding all sort of pitfalls in their discourse. You're starting to look at this regime, this infrastructure of this community that you've associated yourself with, or found yourself associating with, and you realize that there's so many things that are wrong with it, so many things that you don't even want to be associated with, because it means giving up a lot of things that are important to you. Let's go again. Why do you need to? Why do you need to? Why do you need to? I keep hearing that. Why do you need to? Why do you need to feel like you have to fit in? Why do you need to have to sacrifice something that's important to you in order to be loved? Why do you need to feel like you need, why do you need to, feel like you have to cut pieces of yourself off in order to fit in with other people? I feel like this regime or whatever infrastructure that existed was just not your cup of tea. And when you stepped back, it was like being thrusted in a whole new state or whole new level of confusion, because now you're questioning whether or not you ever will have a space. Will you ever have a place in this world? At this time, you're starting to realize that for some of you, this may have happened quite some time, like maybe for a while now. And now, instead of feeling sad or even angry, it's like you're not sure how to feel. It's like a neutrality that you've reached. And that's okay, because it's this sort of disassociation, not to the point where you don't recognize who you are anymore, but now you're starting to look at everything else differently. You're starting to see how many things that, how many things in your life have happened to you just in an attempt to show you what needs to be adjusted. I feel like for quite a few of you, you may not have had a stable family. You may not have had some, persons in your space that were able to praise you when you did well. And even if you didn't well, encourage you to understand, to see more of your, more beautiful sides. I feel like a lot of you did not have that sort of support, especially from your father. I feel like your father has always had an issue with you and you know, how you came across. I feel like quite a few of you persons made, attempts to be appreciated by the father. Many of you try your honest best for get your father to love you for who you are, and he did not. Some of you didn't even know your father, and your mother played that role as both parents. Some of you may have resented your mother for even trying to keep you away from your father. I feel like a couple of you may have had a mother that purposefully kept you away from your father, not necessarily out of protection, but out of her own issues with the father, wanting to spite. And that messed you up, because for a while you had that narrative that the father didn't want to be in your life. And then coming to that reality, I feel like in the last full moon that we had, full moon in Scorpio, a lot of revelations came out, a lot of truths came out. I feel like a lot of you just recently found out um how much your mother kept from you. And that's why some of you may have even issues with femininity, just opening up with women. I feel like some of you may have issues with friendships with women, having a relationship with other women. I feel like a lot of times there's a sense of distrust, because you're not quite sure if what you're seeing as a person, if that's their true character. Hence, when you look at this, it gives us the vague depiction of a female, a woman. But then, even though it looks brightly colored and attractive, there's still this sinister look to it. Like, you can't trust it. And so it's like every female that you meet, there's this level of distrust. There's just, wondering if whether or not you really are safe in this person's presence. You're not sure if whether or not this person has your truest best interests at heart. You're not sure how much of it to believe. And I feel like, again, there's issues with the root, starting with your father, may have stemmed to your mother. And then because of where it's affected, I feel like a lot of you who do resonate as, feminine energies, I feel like your sacral chakra is blocked heavily. I feel like many of you can't even enjoy sex properly. That's being plain. I feel like a lot of you may be having issues just opening up yourself, finding partners who can love you and not feel like you're being used all the time. I feel like quite a few of you have definitely ran into persons who've only used you for your bodies. I feel like quite a few of you may have had issues with persons being just honest with what they wanted from you, and then just adds to this level of distrust. Can you trust being yourself as a woman? Can you trust being yourself, having relationships with females? What you need to know, regardless of what has happened in the past, you are not the past. This is not the past. We have an opportunity to change it. As cliche as it sounds, there is always an opportunity to change it, and it starts with just looking at what has been in the dark for some time. Sometimes you find yourself going back and forth with whether or not you are being honest with yourself, because one minute you're okay with certain aspects like insecurities, and then another, when you go in, the presence of a different friend group or a different set of people, you're, stepping back from your stance, like you're backing down from it. You're no longer wanting to support that view. You're no longer wanting to feel empowered. It's like you hand your power over. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What has it gotten you? And it's like it's so triggering, because every time you feel like you've recovered from this cycle, it just happens. It keeps happening. It feels like a continuous thing. It never stops. It's like a continuous loop. And you know what? As sad and miserable as it sounds, it's going to keep happening until you start letting go of these these false beliefs of yourself. Bring what's in the dark into the light. Bring what's in the dark into the light. Bring what's into the dark into the light. What do you have in the dark? What are you afraid of? I feel like quite a few of you may be having stomach issues at this time. Your solar plexus is not right. You can't do anything. Your masculine energy is messed up. There's an imbalance. There you have you're mostly in your feminine energy than you are in your masculine energy. For quite a few of you guys, you may be feeling very over emotional. Not to say there's anything wrong with feeling your emotions and having that being a part of you, but have you noticed yourself playing the victim more often than usual? Have you noticed that tendencies towards codependency? Have you noticed yourself feeling very insecure? Have you noticed yourself feeling more cruel than usual? You can't be happy for someone else. You find yourself finding faults at all times, at any given moment, with someone else's happiness, because you feel like they don't deserve it. Why? You feel like you can't have your own, so why should anybody else? And it's not meant for you to feel bad, but it's for you to recognize what you're doing. I feel like a lot of you do things without even realizing it, and some of you are conscious of it, but you don't rectify it, because until someone calls you out, you're going to deny it, or you're going to take it to the grave. That's the hill that you're going to die on. You're not doing it. You want love, and you can have it. You want acceptance, and you can have that too. What you need to know at this time: a lot of you have some very unhealthy habits, some tendencies. You may have been drinking more often than usual. If not drinking, I feel like some of you have been thrill seeking, putting yourself in very dangerous situations just because you want to feel accepted and wanted and desired, and you want to feel what it's like to have someone who sees nothing but you in that particular moment. And nothing's wrong. It's okay. Nothing is wrong for having that desire, but it's the way that you're choosing at this time that's a problem. A lot of you have this tendency to come off egotistical. If it's not from one extreme, it's to the next. Sometimes you're overly emotional and you're really living in your your feminine energy a lot, to the point where it's imbalanced, and then you slide over to the other end of the spectrum, which is in your masculine. You can't find that sweet spot. You can't find that center where it's equal sides, and you're struggling. You're struggling at this time. At this time, I feel like if you have not cried in a while, you need to. If you have been holding back your tears, you need to stop, take a minute, and release. I feel like a few of you did not release on um the full moon, I feel like you have not been doing releases, you have not been writing your letters, you have not been writing your forgiveness letters, you have not been burning, the doubts and the fears. Some of you need to engage in some burning rituals. You need to write down the things that you want to release and burn them. I feel like quite a few of you guys have been holding back tears because you feel like you're not meant to cry. But this is what makes you human. This is what adds to your humanity. This is what's going to help you move on. There is no glory in trying to hold back. For what? Nobody's coming to you at this time. You have the space for yourself for a reason. Many of you, I feel like, again, you have either pushed people away or people have sensed that you need some alone time and they made themselves scarce. And that is spirit saying to you, you have this opportunity. When have you last cried? When have you written down how you've been feeling? Some of you, it's like you have this energy inside of you to create as a feminine. You have this energy to create, and it's like water within a vessel. The longer water stays or stands in that vessel, untouched, not moving, nothing, stillness, it becomes toxic with biotoxins, pathogens, microorganisms that if somebody was to ingest that, it becomes toxic to them. So you're walking around with this stagnant energy, this putrefied water. And if anyone's supposed to take a sip of you, or in this, not in a literal sense, but if somebody were to talk to you or interact with you, it's like they're drinking in this bitterness. Something came to mind, but I'm not gonna say it. It's gonna sound too mean, but putting it in a different word, putting it in a different set of wording. When people interact with you, prior to the solitary time that you're in, when they were interacting with you, it's like you made a lot of people uncomfortable. Uncomfortable because it's like they could sense that you were not in yourself, you were not feeling you well in yourself or powerful in yourself, you felt uncomfortable. And that transferred to people. So it's just like when people take a sip of stagnant water or water that has been sitting for days upon months upon, days upon weeks upon months, probably years, there stands a chance of them contracting a waterborne disease. And waterborne diseases have a lot of influences with your intestinal tract, right? So before you know it, you're having stomach issues, diarrhea, vomiting, cramps, painful cramps. You hurt people on the solar plexus level because you're hurting on a solar plexus level. Hence why I feel like a lot of you guys are being more cruel than usual. That bitterness needs to transfer. That anger needs to transfer. For some people, if it's not being expressed as, bitterness or just being cruel or insecure or just more mean than usual, I feel like quite a few of you are engaging in flings or, you know, interactions, sexual interactions with people who are not catering to you at all in any shape or form. They're empty. The interactions are empty, null of substance. Nothing is there. And you know it. You're choosing them on purpose. A part of you know that you're purposefully choosing those people who cannot and are refusing to give to you. I feel like at this time you're feeling more sexualized, but not in an empowering way. Some of you are viewing sex in a negative way. Some of you are resenting sex. Some of you are thinking back of all the times you engaged in, I'm hearing non-consensual. I'm hearing for some of you it's emotionless, nothing is there. And you keep doing it and it hurts. But you tell yourself because of what you possess, the demons inside of you, or, just having the shadow self that exists, it's what you deserve. You feel like it's like you're self-sabotaging, you're self-punishing. This was a very triggering reading, and I pray that for those who watch this reading, Please take the time out that you need. If anything resonates, take the time out that you need to really sit with yourself and cry. You need that release, so you deserve that. It starts there. When you cry, it's just like the sign. It's like punching holes in a container that has water in it. You're giving it room to flow. You're giving that water a chance to flow out of the vessel that it has been entrapped in for for such a long time. You can start there. Not if you don't want to cry, you can dance it out. If you don't want to dance it out, you can create, draw, sing, write. You just need to create. Create that space that makes you feel safe. You didn't have that as a child growing up, create that space now. You, at this time, you may be engaging in more self care practices. What you need to hear right now, engage in more self care practices. For people who have been doing more with their hands, your hands are feeling tired, your hands are looking worn out, treat yourself to a manicure. When last have you done your nails in your favorite color? Empower yourself. Look at your hands. Your hands have power in them. They shape the life that you want. They put you together in the morning. They clean up after you in the evenings. For some of you, you may have children. Your hands are powerful. Communicate. Some of you may communicate more with your hands. You gesticulate a lot. Communicate. Let it flow. For others of you, you may be doing more things with your feet, getting pedicures. You deserve that. Treat yourself. Get a full body massage, preferably something to drain the lymphatic system. Now, I'm in no shape or form a medical practitioner, but I'm just telling you what I'm hearing with this drawing. Your chakras, starting from the root, need to be adjusted. If you look at how the colors flow from the root to the sacral, to the solar plexus, to the heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye, and the crown. I'm going to end the reading here. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end if you did. I appreciate all of my supporters. I appreciate all the love that you give me. And I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you again. Please remember, like, comment, and subscribe. Shit, you could even share this video with whoever you feel like needs to hear these things. Peace and love, guys. Thank you so much again.